Howdy, Patriots, segment 249. I'm titling this one Minnesota is Broken. So, Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, or is it the land of 10,000 fraudsters now? One can't tell. I mean, it almost appears that Minnesota is trying to outdo California in everything that's bad. I realize that their state legislation is majority Democrats, but I to allow the things that are happening in the state, the citizens need to sharpen their pitchforks and get away from the 10,000 lakes, reel in your fishing rods, and take back their state because the Democrats are tearing it apart and they're screwing you, they're screwing us over billions of dollars of tax money, which the taxpayers of this country are not going to be happy about, and it makes the state look extremely bad. So let's do a recap of what's been going on there. First of all, we had the Antifa pussies, and I call them pussies because they run around. They get paid. They run around with face muzzles on. If you watch any of the J6 videos, you can tell who the patriots and the American citizens are in the country or at that event because they're not wearing masks. It's the FBI agents and the Antifa pussies that were all wearing masks at J6. And so in Minneapolis and anywhere that they are in the country that they stage a protest or a riot, they're always wearing masks. I don't know if they're scared that mommy and daddy are going to recognize them or they don't want the police to recognize them, but they wear masks because they're pussies. And so, anyway, during the fentanyl George Floyd fiasco, where he OD'd on fentanyl, they were allowed to burn the inner city of Minneapolis. And the mayor and the governor didn't do a damn thing about it. Not one thing. Now we've got the Somalians taking over the city and defrauding the citizens with their leering centers that didn't exist. We're finding out, and I sure hope this comes to fruition. But we're finding out that Omar, the governor, the AG Ellis, they were all involved in this. I'm sure they got their pockets lined, and I'm waiting for the day. I'm waiting for the day. I mean, they could make it a national holiday. I'm waiting for the day when Omar is either arrested or put on a damn plane and flown back to her shithole country of Somalia. I think they should call it. They should declare it a national holiday if that ever happens. So yesterday, the DOJ came out and they had a major announcement, and they caught a bunch of fraudsters in Minnesota. And there was one of them, Amy Bach, age 45, the former director of the Minnesota nonprofit Feeding Our Future, was sentenced to 41 and a half years for her role in one of the largest COVID-19 fraud cases in U.S. history. She was at the epicenter of a $250 million fraud network claiming to provide millions of meals to children during the pandemic. You know what the other scandal was that was part of this? It was the fact that parents were getting kickbacks to cover for her operation. That's a big scandal. Side note, when it comes to fraud and COVID. There's approximately, from what I've seen, approximately $4 trillion that was doled out by the federal government when it came to COVID. For the most part, it was never utilized for what it was supposed to be for. It was supposed to help businesses recoup some of their losses during the shutdown and to help pay their employees when they weren't working. Now, out of the $4 trillion that was probably, from what I understand, $4 trillion that was doled out by the federal government, I would estimate that about $3 trillion of it was fraud. $3 trillion fraud. And so Amy Bach was sentenced yesterday, and also the DOJ announced that 15 others were arrested in $90 million worth of fraud. $90 million fraud scheme. One of them, Feeding Our Future, a pandemic-era nonprofit that claimed to provide meals to children, but was exposed in viral media reports. Fahima Muhammad, owner of Future Leaders Early Learning Center, was accused of defrauding the Child Care Assistance Program of $4.6 million. Another one, Housing Stabilization Services. One suspect, Muhammad Omar, allegedly defrauded the program of $3.2 million by inflating service hours and falsifying records. He reportedly escaped arrest he jumped out of a fourth floor balcony, and there's a video, CCTV camera where he's hobbling away. More than likely broke an ankle, broke a foot, broke a leg. Rightfully so, but he has been recaptured. Then we have autism fraud. 2 defendants are accused of paying kickbacks to parents diagnosing children with autism regardless of medical need and billing for services never provided. Defraud came to the total of $46.6 million. Then we have disabled services fraud. 11 defendants are accused of bilking $39.1 million from these programs. Of the 15 that were arrested, I believe it was 9 of them were Somalians. You know, when Obama was installed into the White House, and after 2020, I can only believe that one of his terms he was installed. I'm going to go with the second term. When he was installed into the White House, in the middle of the night, wee hours of the early morning, he flew in approximately, not him personally, of course, he had between 50 and 70,000, we don't know the numbers for sure, but between 50 and 70,000 Somalians into Minnesota and the Dakotas, North and South Dakota. You know, I've not been to Minnesota for quite some time now, but from what I understand, the Mall of America, largest mall in the country, looks like Somalia now. Nice. I started using Nice now instead of ICE. Nice could make a huge dent in the removal of illegals in this country by hitting Minneapolis and taking out the Somali population. If for anything, if for some reason Omar still hasn't been arrested, it'll take all of her voters away. She'll never be in office again. And then, you know, we received illegals in this country from at least 150 damn countries, most of which these countries cleaned out their prisons, their insane asylums to send them here to do what they got arrested for in their country, to basically do that in this country. And they have been. And they come here, they came here, the walls shut down now, or the border shut down now, but they came here expecting and getting free food, free lodging, health care, and EBT cards and cash at the expense of the American taxpayer. And this was for all illegals. We've got American people living in poverty, and it just grinds my jaws, and yours as well. We've got people living in this. We have homeless people in this country. We have people living in poverty, and these assholes come across the border, invited, of course, obviously, and they were living high off the hog, and still are. I don't know if all the benefits have been cut off. I'm hoping so. I believe President Trump said that they are. But the self-deportations are not showing that as of yet. Then, if that wasn't bad enough, that they come here to grab our money, then for some reason, they're allowed to start a business, whether it's a fraudulent one or not. Because, you just don't put a sign on a damn building and call it a business. There are steps you have to take and hoops you have to jump through to get to that phase. But yet, they were able to start a business, especially when you are established enough to get state or federal funding. And nobody takes the time to investigate you and do a background check on you. They just, here you go. Here's your business license. Here's your funding, your grant, whatever, to start the business. And then again, they start these businesses, and what do? They're screwing over American citizens. In the announcement, the DOJ reported that since April 1st, they have done 450 fraud enforcement actions nationwide, costing citizens billions, with a B, billions of dollars. I mean, if it isn't the federal government that's constantly stealing our money, then we have to deal with these greedy assholes taking our money through scams. It's all for the sake of greed. Got to have that almighty dollar. I wholeheartedly believe if the fraud was stopped dead in the tracks at every level, whether it's Minnesota, across the nation, or at the federal level, I don't believe we would have any Americans living at the poverty level. I really don't. And all of this fraud that has been pointed out, I think, now during the announcement, they said they had been working on it since August of last year. But I really think that because of one young man, Nick Shirley, that saw an issue and started investigating it, found a major problem, and exposed it. I think because of him, this got the ball rolling. I really do. And in fact, when the DOJ yesterday was making their announcement, Nick Shirley was there, and they did recognize him for his contributions to finding the fraud in Minnesota. At this point, Minnesota's broke. And I'm not talking financial. They're broken. The state at every level it's broken. But it's not the only state. they're gonna find fraud. Well, like I said, 450 cases so far. They're gonna find fraud in. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't find it in every state. Most of it's going to be in all Democrat cities and states that are, those are the ones that are going to be the most broken. But I have to question what where are the citizens? Now that this has all been pointed out, I would wholeheartedly expect them to go to these political dickheads that are allowing this money to be wasted, and fraud, and banging down their doors and demanding some action. But apparently the DOJ in their announcement yesterday said that many at the state level, even though they knew this was happening, they were scared to report anything because they didn't want to be called racist. This fear of being called Islamophobic or racist, this fear of being called these names, this needs to stop. Because these words have been used at a whim so many times, as far as I'm concerned, they have no meaning anymore. They're just, all they do is these people throw it at you just to shut you up. And that's what happened. The people at the state level in Minnesota were scared of being called racist, and so they shut up. And I question the morals of this way of thinking, because people are being scammed. The people working at these agencies are being scammed. And yet they're scared to report it. All right, that's hard to fathom. It really is hard to fathom. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said this. When we allow this shit to continue, it's not going to go away. It's going to flourish, and more of it's going to pop up, and more of it's going to happen. I mean, this is why when Bondi was the AG, I'd say almost every day I was bitching and complaining because she wasn't doing anything. I will say it again, and I will continue to say it. This country will heal itself, or begin to heal itself, when the indictments and the arrests start happening. And there are thousands. I mean, we don't have enough prison space to hold all of these people. There are literally thousands and thousands of people out there committing fraud, at every level. Not to mention the deep state. God only knows when they'll start indicting and arresting them. But it's up to us. It's up to the American people. If we demand accountability, I mean, if we demand accountability, then there's a good chance that something will be done about it. If you suspect fraud, don't be scared about being called a racist or a homophobe or a Islamophobe. Report it. Report it. President Trump is, he assigned Vice President Vance is the fraud czar, I guess you can call him. And there has been some immediate action ever since that got established. And President Trump does not like fraud, and he is serious about this. And it appears they're attacking it with a vengeance. And that's what I voted for. Anyway, we'll see what else comes of this. I'm sure when it comes to Minnesota, this isn't the end. DOJ said they're going to continue investigating in Minnesota, and they're pretty sure that they're going to find more. And then it'll be interesting over the days, weeks, and months, maybe a year, to see what else is uncovered. Because California, oh my God. Once they get started there, of course, that'll lead to Newsom. He's got his hands in it in almost every aspect of the state losing money. He's culpable. He's guilty. Anyway, that's it. We'll see what happens. A lot of these programs the DOJ reported to is while these they're important programs, they're important Medicaid and Medicare and health services, social services programs, and now they're shut down. While the investigation's going on, they're shut down. And so these people that need these services aren't allowed to get them. And if they do start up again, can they be trusted? Can the people trust these services? Time will tell. Anyway, short one today. That's all I got. If you see this sign, I do this at the end of every video because I believe it's very important. If you see this sign from any individual, they are telling you, it's the international sign for distress. They are telling you that they are in distress and that they need your help. If you can render assistance safely, do so. You may find out that by helping them, you will have saved a life. That's all I got for now, Patriots. Keep the ears open. There's more to come.